So this project, this is going to be one of our sessions on the projects, and this is the National Address Database. I've already navigated there, but if you type it in Google, you'll find your way to this link. It might be the second link instead of the first link. transportation.gov/GIS/National Address Database/National Address Database -0. And it tells you a little bit about the database. It sadly does not cover 100% of all addresses in the United States, but it does cover 53.5 million, which is pretty good. So once you get to this page, you're going to click on download the NAD. At this time, I would say that before coming up with an acronym for your company, product, master data, run it by a 15-year-old first. But since it's already called the NAD, we're going to work on our NAD. Alright, so we're going to download this comma delimited file. Alright, and it's done. Go to show in folder. There's my file. We're going to put it someplace convenient. I've already created a folder called NAD. And if you can't guess, I've already been doing work on this. I've actually gone through this a couple of times, created long videos, and had it fail multiple times before finally getting all 53.5 million records in. So we're going to extract our zip file. Okay, so you can see now that the file is 13.5 gigabytes in size. We're going to delete our zip file to make sure that we have enough space on the computer. I only have so much disk space, and I don't want to expand it. But anyway, so there we go. We've got our file. It is too big. There we go. To open up with most editors, and we're not going to need to. There are other options to do this, and I might actually do this over again, exploring those options. But for now, let's go ahead and right-click on databases. No. Actually, let's create a database. New database. Alright, and we're just going to call it NAD. Actually, let's call it raw NAD. Okay, so this is our raw data, and then we're going to create another database later on and do a better, well, it'll be called NAD. My NAD will be very efficient. Okay, so our next step here is to do tasks, import data. Once we get this started, it's going to take a very long time. So then we're going to take this top drop down, and it's going to be a flat file source. I'm going to click browse, and there's my file. I've already navigated here before, so we're going to click open. And now SQL Server is very good at locating the columns, so that's really good. And the really bad thing is it's not so great at doing data types or lengths. So I did at first try to use the file. Here we go, I can show you. This schema.ini, and you would say, oh, look at that. They've got all the field links in here, and that's great. It's wonderful. Unfortunately, there are errors in their CSV file. And so while it might say that this column 1 is supposed to be a long, it doesn't work for 100% of their 5.5 million records. So what do? Well, what I ended up doing was running this process over and over again and finding the fields that were too short and then increasing the value here. Since I've already done that, I'm just going to quickly go through all of these and put them to the sizes they need to be. and I will fast forward the video. Okay, now that I've gone through all of that, we'll use this. We're going to select native client, which I think should be the default. At least it selects my database that I right-clicked on to do this data import. Alright, we can take a peek at the mappings, but they should all match what I put in. And we're going to click next. We're not going to make an SSIS package, and we're going to click finish. And off it goes. I'm going to stop the video, and hopefully it gets through all 53.5 million, which it should, and then we will take it on from there. Okay, so it ran. I have no idea how long it took to run, but it ran and it actually took in all the rows. So, and that's awesome. So let's go and do some preliminary checks. Connect to our database here. Actually, the way I like to do it is just to right-click on the database and do query. And what is our first step? Well, the file and the description of the file conflict. So what I would want to do is get rid of any invalid data. Now with 5.5 million records, or 53.5 million records, we're not going to resolve every data error. So if the number of errors are relatively small and not an artifact of being uploaded, we'll probably delete those records, or you know what we'll do, we'll store them in another table that we can look at them later and say, hey, what is wrong with this record? And hopefully what is wrong with that record isn't the record before it was broken, causing the record after it to be broken. Okay, so first things first, let's just do a little validation. And this validation is to get the count of all the records that are in our table. Okay, here we go. So select count star from our table name, gives us the total number of records, which looks just about right. We can just copy it up here and put in our commas. There you go. Oh, that looks pretty good. Moving on. So we have select OID count star as count, that's an alias, into, and this is a temporary table name, well, kind of permanent table, from our table, group by OID. So anything that appears up here when there's an aggregate like count or sum has to be in a group by statement. I've already run this. It created 30 rows in my table. So to make things easier, because it takes a long time to query that big table, we're going to select from our temporary table. So I highlighted it and I clicked on Control E to execute it. We're going to order the table, and well, let's break this up. People are trying to learn from this. So we're selecting all columns from R_OID, Royd, probably not the best name. And we're ordering by the count field descending. We'll execute. So I don't really know what the true point of this field is. The vast majority, and if you remember, this field, I'm going to go ahead and grab it again. This field is supposed to be a long. I had to bring it in as a varchar 50, which is not the greatest thing in the world. But a long is definitely a number. And very little here are just numbers. fact, the only valid value seems to be -1, and I really don't know what the point is to that. So what we're going to do is we're going to move those records to a new table. First, we're going to test the query, which might take a while. Alright, we're back. So we got 82 rows, and we can see quite obviously that there's something horribly wrong with these records. We've got latitude and longitudes and zip code +4. So what we're going to do is we're going to use another table, another temp table. We'll call it suspect. And we're going to select those records from our raw data table to our new suspect table. And while it's running, we're going to delete those records. Where those are suspect records. Took 2 minutes and 16 seconds to run that. And now if we just do a quick query, there we go. That returns so much faster, less than a second. And later on, we can look at these suspect records at our convenience. But now we've got to delete these suspect records from our main table. So to do a delete in TSQL, delete is your command. What am I deleting from? My table. And what are the limiting circumstances? Where OID is not equal to -1. Off it goes. Having cold stinks. So we did our delete, and it deleted 82 rows, which is perfect because when we did our select, it did 82 rows. What I like to do, though, if I have deletes, is let's comment them out. So what I did there is a multi-line comment. So it's still there. I still know I did it, but now it's commented out. Let's do another field. Select state. So what we're doing here is we're looking at our imported table. We're looking at the state column. We're getting count by state. So for every different value that shows up in state. Now, just to give us an idea, state obviously is supposed to just be a 2-character field, unless they were putting the whole state name in there, but they're not. I had to load it in as a varchar 50. Which means that there's something wrong. Let's see what that something wrong is. And we're back. So we got 32 rows. We did not get 50, but we do know that not all the states participate. So let's check it out. And you know what? Let's do our order by count, ascending again. So you'll see the nature of valid data. Odd numbers, different numbers, and then as we get down, okay, these are probably low participation, but it actually looks pretty good. So there's nothing for us to scrub out of here. There was before when I had to do, but I think when we cleaned out and did these records, let's take a quick look. Let's look at what state is. State, blank center, drive. So the records that are messed up cause other things to be messed up. So we can carry on with our cleanup. Alright. County is 40 characters, and we brought it in as 40. So that's probably pretty good. So we can skip that one for now. At some point we might want to validate that a county is actually a county, but we'll have to find some data to bring in. So Inc. Municipal, characters 100, brought in 100, these are all fine. So I was going to go on and explore the zip code field, but I think that's going to be an episode by itself. Their zip code data seems horribly malformed. Millions of records are blank. Many records are shorter than 5 digits, and some other aberrations. So we'll go into that in the next episode. And until then, be well.